So this is Nepenthes muluensis, the Mulu pitcher plant. So the taxonomy of the pitcher plant is Eukarya is the domain, Planta is the kingdom, the phylum is Tracheophyta, the class is Muluensis, the order is Caryophyllales, the family is Nepenthaceae, the genus is Nepenthes, and the species is Muluensis. So here is the kingdom tree, beginning with all life forms, which are distinguished by the presence of a cell membrane. Archaebacteria forms. Then peptidic glycan evolves into the cell wall of the bacteria, which then branches off to form new bacteria. Next, the nucleus evolves, which then branches off to form protista, and continues on to become multicellular. And then that leads to the formation of plantae, which is distinguished by the presence of cellulose in its cell walls. Fungi, distinguished by the presence of chitin in its cell walls. And finally, the evolution of mouth-eating leads to the creation of the kingdom Animalia. And our species, Nepenthes muluensis, is part of the plant kingdom. So here is the phylum tree of Muluensis. So beginning with all the plants, vascular tissues form, and this branches off to form the phylum Tracheophyta. Then later on, two cotyledons or embryonic leaves evolve versus a monocot or a single cotyledon or embryonic leaf. And that forms the dicotyledons or Muluensis. Then later on, succulent plants evolve, and this also includes carnivorous plants, and that forms Caryophyllales. Then later on, pitcher plants evolve to form the family Nepenthaceae. Then tropical pitcher plants, which are native to Southeast Asia, form, and that becomes Nepenthes, the genus Nepenthes. And then, so finally we go on to Muluensis. And because of its distinct coloring of purple and yellow, and its specific growth in elevation of 1,700 to 2,400 meters, and its location in Malaysia. And these are just a few other species that are closely related to Muluensis, as you can see here. These include N. tentaculata and N. Muluensis. So interesting adaptations of digestive and homeostasis. So Muluensis is a carnivorous plant, and its leaf is actually modified into the shape of a pitcher, and it's brightly colored. And the color and the nectar that is secreted on the peristome both lure insects in, and the insects will end up falling into the pool of water and digestive enzymes that collects in the pitcher, and then the plant will slowly digest its prey. And this pitcher evolved due to the lack of nutrients in the soil in which Muluensis grows, and in order to obtain sufficient nitrogen and phosphorus, the plant evolved this pitcher, and it also helps to maintain homeostasis because certain nutrients, such as nitrogen in the form of ammonia, help the plant to regulate its internal pH. And the nutrients also help to carry out other processes in the plant that help it maintain homeostasis. So interesting reproductive adaptations. So Nepenthes plants, including Muluensis, are dioecious, which means that they, rather than having one plant that has both a female and male reproductive systems, it has two. Each plant has a set gender, so that means that two plants are required for sexual reproduction to occur: a male plant and a female plant. And as you can see here, these are male flowers and these are female flowers. The Male to female ratio is about 75 to 25%, which makes reproduction occur at a lower rate. And although hundreds of seeds are released, only a fraction of them actually survive and grow into mature pitcher plants. And since the flowers are not very bright, the plant relies on its pitcher to attract fertilizers, and these fertilizers will also be attracted to the nectar and the bright color, and they'll help to fertilize the pitcher plants. So global distribution in niche. Muluensis is endemic to Malaysia, and specifically to Mount Mulu in the state of Sarawak, and it grows in high elevations, highland habitats, so these tend to be above between 1,700 to 2,400 meters above sea level. And it is also a passive predator of insects and sometimes small creatures. So it occupies both the niche of a passive predator and a plant as it carries out photosynthesis. So as you can see in the food web, the pitcher plant is both a producer and a consumer. It carries out photosynthesis like a producer, but it also digests insects and other small creatures to supplement its photosynthesis. So in this case, it could be considered both predator and prey in a very unique way. So here's the fossil record of Archaeamphora longicervia, and this is the earliest known carnivorous plant and is the only fossil record of pitcher plants. And it dates back to 124.6 million years ago and was found in the Jiangsu Formation in China. Here's the bibliography.